What is up, guys? Welcome to first ever bench racing with McClure Motorsport. I'm your host, Connor McClure, and this is Freddie with the most, your host with the most,
Bailey.
Let's get right into it. Obviously, it's our first podcast, so we're going to be a little bit rusty, a little bit hit and miss here and there, but we're going to try our best to keep it flowing and keep it interesting for you guys at home. Getting excited for the Westernationals coming up this weekend and testing on Thursday with Casey, so that's going to be exciting. But before we start talking about stuff at home, we're going to get right into a little bit of stateside stuff. We'll talk about the recent Lights Out 15 event that went down at South Georgia with Stevie Fast taking out the win in RVW and setting low ET in the final round. Obviously, that was pretty impressive from him to come out with a brand new car. I think he only had about 8 passes on the car before he went to that event, and obviously he's known for having a huge mouth on him, and he backs it up with the performances 99% of the time. So that was pretty awesome, burning up a fair bit of stuff on the way. But you know, when you're talking like that, you got to be willing to put your parts on the line and sacrifice them to go as quick as you can. So.
Yeah, he talks the talk, but he comes out and walks the walk, so that's all that matters. You can talk as much as you want, but if you don't walk it, it's worth nothing. But shout out to Stevie, he did pretty good. Yeah,
that was super impressive to come out and run. I don't think he even ran in the 60s all weekend. I'm pretty sure he ran mid 350s and then obviously a 350 in the final, 213, 212 mile an hour. So that was sick. And this weekend, probably even more impressive is he's heading straight to the World Series of Pro Mod event, invite only, at Bradenton. He's put slicks on it already, and they're going to head out that way. So they haven't tested the car with slicks on it yet. So it'll be interesting to see once they get slicks on that car and take it to a track, what they're going to look like. And I'm not sure if they tested today or not. I think there was a test session there at Bradenton today, but that will be pretty cool to see.
Slick's better anyway.
Yeah, thanks. And obviously, another thing from Lights Out was pretty impressive car was Chris Daniels with his pro-charged Camaro. That was pretty cool. That car has sort of come out of nowhere. It's been around for a little while, but to be running those times and stuff was a little bit of a dark horse coming out of there. Obviously, Luis De Leon went to screw supercharger instead of the nitrous combination, which I don't think many people seen coming until close to the event. It went well for them. The car went 352. That was cool. So
yeah, with that Chris Daniels thing, I was watching with Dad, and when Connor said this thing's pretty fast, so we watched it back, and just watching it just took up and just racks off. Like, it doesn't even look real how fast it was. So that was pretty cool, and it has. I've seen some things on the wing, some sort of air rams or something you were saying were active aeros. So that's pretty cool. I'm not really sure how they're activated or how they're used, but it can only be better for it, I guess.
It must be off of through the ECU or something, off of a trans brake release or something like that. But it even has a cutout on the front end, which I've never seen on any other pro mod, that looks like it's something to do with getting aero under the car and something like that. But it doesn't separate. It doesn't do any carry on like that. So
yeah, it just looks fast.
Quite
really
an
fast.
Impressive car, and you can actually see as it goes down the track that last 100 mil of the wing actually tilts up vertical. So that it's like a full vertical wicker build. It's like 150 mil tall as it goes down the track, and then once he gets to the last 100 feet, that thing drops to give him that last bit through the finish line. So that's a pretty freaking cool little piece of gear we see on Brad. I think Brad Edwards campaigned that for quite a while on his ex TKM Mustang. That thing has that sort of aero on it as well, so I don't know if they're tight or whatever, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and back to that Luis De Leon one. He came out last year at Lights Out 14 and actually come runner-up in the event with a pretty new combo. So it just goes to show that team, they can just put a combo together and just come out and compete at the top, which is pretty cool. And even though the blower sticks out of the bonnet pretty offensively, it's still fast, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think there probably is something to pick up there. I think with having such an offensive wind trap effectively on the front of the car, you see a lot of people going to bodies that are much higher that cover the whole supercharger. And Melanie Salemi, she runs that Camaro body, which is beautiful. It's very aerodynamic, and
that thing gets up.
And only the hat sticks out of the bonnet. So there's definitely something there. Why would you run a car like that if it's not for an advantage? So that's just about all we've got from Lights 15 for RVW. So we'll move on to World Series of Pro Mod this weekend. Talking about the speed and the ET difference from last year to this year. The whole field has picked up what seems to be half a tenth really. The bump, the pole last year was 362. And the bump spot was a 370 with an 8. So a very tight field, 8/100ths of a second separating the whole 48 car field. That's just insane to even think about that. But in a recent event, we've seen Mark Mickey actually go a 358 was the number one spot that he qualified in. And I think this year it's probably going to be a 365 bump spot. So that's going to be impressive to see if that's what happens. I think that's what it's going to take to race in that field. And I think if you're running anything slower than a 68 on race day, I think you're probably on the trailer. So
yeah, like you said, a very tight field, but also the amount of cars in the field is crazy for how tight it is. And it's good to see combos like Mark Mickey twin turbo stuff making it sort of a resurgence, and having that variety and everyone goes fast, and it's almost crazy to think about. There's that many cars that run that fast, that consistently on the same property. Being from Perth, where we don't have much stuff like that, but
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's definitely cool.
Yeah, we couldn't even get a top alcohol and doorslammer field together that totals more than 48 cars. So that is crazy to think that there's that many pro mods that can run in that tight knit of a field. And it's almost like it's like pro stock really. It's so tight that you just about can't mess up on the light. There's no margin for error. If you're going slower than an 040, you just about should click it at 100 foot, because the guy next year is almost guaranteed he's going to be going down and he's going to be running quick mid-60s. So
yeah, and to relate it back to RVW, I was watching Jeff Miller, who was in the final against Stevie Fast, actually pretty much whole shot won all his races if the other person didn't blow the tyres off. So
yeah, for sure.
It shows that in that sort of area where those guys race, the light pays a lot. And, of course, talking about promo, we're going to talk about Justin Swanstrom, and Big Country will tell you that the light matters.
Yeah, for sure. I was watching those boys' podcast the other week, and he was giving Justin a little bit of a roasting for having a snooze and this and that, but he showed up at his most recent test session. He made sure he put the reaction times in there and what he was cutting. He made sure he posted that up, and they were nice lights, especially in a new car, being uncomfortable and stuff like that. I bet it's unfamiliar for him to be in a car like that, but that car's looking pretty cool. That's an old, not an old, but it's not a brand new build. It's a second-hand car, and to put his full combo out of his No Prep Kings thing into that is pretty cool, and for them to be on top of it so quickly is quite an achievement. I think it shows the intelligence that those boys have, and they don't have buyer tuners, they don't have anything like that. They do all their stuff themselves, so that's pretty cool, and that's something that we can relate to. So I think
and shouts out Big Country. He doesn't get enough credit for what he does. He picked up pretty quickly on it, and I think with it being the same combo they run in NPK with the 4.9 Noonan and the screw blower and stuff like that, I think it's a little bit easier to pick up a setup, but it's still not easy, and it's you're doing pretty well to pick it up in that little run. So he ended up going to 930 60 foot. I think he didn't show the rest of the slip, but it looks like it was moving pretty good. So
Yeah.
see what he can do.
Yep, that's quick. I think that's the main challenge is to get it past. It's not terribly hard to go that quick to the 60 foot, but it's that next 50 feet. If you can get it through the shake zone, that's a very quick run. So they'll be have them knocking on the bump spot, I think, with a 60 foot like that. So we got to talk what the best combination we think is going to be going into the World Series of Pro Mod with rule changes and this and that coming into the event. What last year Spencer Hyde won the Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod with a screw blower against, I believe it was Pro Charger in the final. But that he won that event with a 364, I believe, or 364, 365 in the final. So what are we thinking? The combination is obviously Mark Mickey's in great form at the moment, and also Todd Moyer is in good form. So what are we thinking for that event?
You can't go past Turbo Todd and Mark Mickey. I'm going to back the Turbos because we love Turbos over here. But the screw blowers have proven to be great combos as well when Pro Chargers. And you also can't look past Stevie Fast, ever.
Yeah.
Because you just know he just comes out and shows up. So I'm going to back the Turbo cars in personally, but I think I got a little bit of a dark horse coming through with Stevie.
For sure. I think the consistency that Mark Mickey's shown in the last couple of weeks, months even changing over to going to Hearts turbos now away from the Garretts. I don't think that's anything to do with the consistency of the car, but they've just refined in on their combo a lot in the last month or so, and they've been working on getting their car consistent, and it showed. They won their last event out, and I think that's a big kudos to those guys, and they're definitely a serious threat coming into it. I'd like to see Todd have a bit more consistency in this next event. I know he got that massive world record, and that was awesome, but he torched the thing and he couldn't bring it back out, and then they come into qualifying and wrecked every transmission on their way through qualifying and had nothing left by the time eliminations comes around. So there's no point having the fastest car on the property when you can't race it in eliminations. So I'd like to see those guys have a little bit more consistency, and also I'd like to see a Roots combo come through the field. I know that Lyle Barnett was driving for can't remember the name, the DreamWorks motorsport team in their Extreme car with a Roots on it, but I feel like that car's gone to a screw now. So I think maybe the Roots combo could be a little bit off the mark compared to where all these other cars are at the moment. And I don't think there's anything left in it to bring it up to par with the rest of the field. So I don't know. We'll see how we go. I think maybe Mike Starvinos is driving the other Janus car this weekend at World Series of Pro Mod, and I think that may have a Roots on it. So see how they go. If they've got a Roots on that thing and that thing puts down the numbers, it'll be impressive to see. But yeah, turbos I think is going to be a hard thing to beat, but we'll have to just wait and see because it is drag racing for a reason and it's not done on paper. So we just got to wait for the day and see what happens. Moving on into a little something different. It was a year ago yesterday, I think, that we were racing the big dogs of Street Outlaws in Australia at our home track in Perth. And that was a pretty cool experience to have those guys over and sort of not maybe your heroes, but it's just someone when they rocked up and we were walking through the pits the day before and even in the lanes, and you're just like, wow, this is insane to have these people that we watch on TV, they're in our backyard and we're racing against them. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and the guys, when they come over, they're also, they put on a bit of an act for the TV sometimes, but they really are all genuine people. Like, obviously we had a race with Stinky Pinky, and he's a mint guy. Good for a laugh, and yeah, just a straight up bloke. And also we had to talk to Team Swanstrom and obviously Uncle Mike. We had a video with him on his YouTube channel. Shout out Uncle Mike. But yeah, they're all just real straight up dudes. They're just drag racers like us. They're just out there trying to go fast. That's pretty much it. Yeah. So it was good. It was good to see. It was like a, they don't sort of seem real because you never see them in real life, but they really are real people, and it was a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, for sure. And when you meet them in person, you think you know that they're going to be American, but then when you go up to them, you're like, and they start talking to you in American, you're like, what?
Dude, you're putting this accent on.
It sounds fake. The accent sounds so put on, but yeah, those guys are really awesome, and that whole lot. Even Jeff Lutz, he hung around one night and he talked to a bunch of us West Australian drag racers, and just no trouble to spend a bit of time talking to his fans. So yeah, they're awesome guys. Moving on to talk about some MPK stuff while we're talking about Street Outlaws. Ryan Martin has gone to a screw blower on his old car for this next season, going to alternate between the two, I think he said. So that'll just be for when they're racing at altitude races. He's going to go to screw car and try run that combination. And it's sort of a bit of a game plan sort of move from Ryan to have control of two combinations, so he can almost dictate what he wants to be good and what he wants to be bad. If he's got the pace to be able to push quick and penalise people that are doing good in the championship by going fast, getting weight put on them, I think it's probably a little bit of a game plan in that respect for him.
Yeah, so yeah, shout out Ryan. He's been doing it for ages, and he's been competitive for a bit of time as well. So he knows what's going on. He knows what's fast. And also it's good to see a bit of a change up from everyone being pro chargers and screw blowers. Also, Scott Taylor's gone to turbos, which is a bit of a surprise, to be honest, but it's cool. It's good to see more turbo cars getting around now, because they sound completely different to blowing cars and pro charge cars and nitrous cars. And it's good to see them going fast and people getting around them.
Yeah, for sure. Like there's not really any super competitive turbo cars in MPK. I mean, you have Jeff Lutz, but he's running a big block combination with the twin turbos. I know he's got a full billet small block pair of those to test out, but it'll be interesting to see a Hemi with turbos on it. I know that Mike Murillo runs it, as well as Birdman as well, but they're not at the caliber of race car of what Scott has. So it'd be interesting to see what someone with a little bit more smarts, I think, and someone that's willing to really push a combination could do with a turbo setup in MPK. Speaking of turbo guys, another guy that looks like he sold his car to a diesel guy, Larry Larson. That beautiful Cadillac has gone to Diesel Boys that race radial stuff.
SNS Diesel.
Yeah, SNS Diesel. So they ran it lights out. They got that car down to a 408, I think, with the diesel. So that's pretty impressive for them.
Yeah, they don't sound angry, but man, when it takes off, it fairly racks off. So
even on the chip, they just sound
sort of lazy.
Sit there like, and then they just come into life. So that's pretty awesome that they've got that car. It's such a beautiful car. But I'm interested to see what Larson's done, if he's just sold up and getting out of it, or if he's got a new car in the build.
I doubt he's getting out of it. I'm sure he's got something coming.
Yeah, I'm sure he is, but we'll just have to wait and find out for that. But anyway, that's enough talking about American stuff. Let's get into the stuff that really matters. Talk a bit of Westernationals pre-game. We've got some pretty strong fields for Westernationals. Obviously, 14 cars in comp eliminator. I think we've got around 9 cars in supercharged outlaws. There's, I think, 8 cars in doorslammer, 5 top fuelers. I think there's over 10 nitro Harleys and bikes coming out. So that's pretty impressive. And there's not many Eastern Staters coming over. So it just shows you the caliber of cars and bikes in Western Australia. And they're all quality pieces. So even all the way back to Super Sedan, Top Sportsman, all have good fields, and it's going to be good to see. Good to get back to the track after a long break. It's been 6 weeks here in WA since we've had to go to the racetrack and run. So it'll be good to see everyone again, and be good to see some hard racing.
Yeah, it's going to be good to come back after the break to full field as well. I don't think comp eliminator has been this competitive in a little while. So, like the Perth boys, like there's a lot of competitive cars there. You got our car, we're competitive. Marino Galotto, John Ferguson,
Jeff Lewis.
Yeah. So it's a stacked roster in comp for this weekend.
Even Mick Buckley.
And Mick Buckley, yeah, he can go under. So it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a great meet. Top fuels there as well. It's gonna bring a crowd. I think it's gonna be sweet. The weather's gonna be good as well. So
yeah, I think it's gonna be cool. It's just the only thing I think probably could be better is that a few interstate guys come over to WA for these rounds. Like, I don't know if it's something to do with the conference, how the conferences are set up in this new NDRC format. Obviously, it's the first year, so they're trying stuff out. But I don't know if it's encouraging people to travel to WA to race if they can just skip around these 8th mile tracks and get easy 4-car fields, 5-car fields. They don't want to come to a Western Nationals and race all of the really competitive cars. And why would you? Honestly,
boring.
Why would you want to come to the Western Nationals and race a hard race meeting? But I think that maybe just getting a few interstate cars over. I know it's really tough at the moment with everything that's going on in the world, but if you're committing to the championship, and I see there is people committed to the championship, they just don't want to come over here. And I think, like, we made a trek to Adelaide, and that was pretty big for us to go across to Adelaide this year, and we didn't get to show our car's potential due to what happened at that meeting. I think that we could have done a pretty good meeting, and Casey definitely could have done a really good meeting.
100%.
And she would be in the points fight right now. She won the Golden States, and we had a race winning setup in that car for that meeting, and she came runner up at that meeting in the test session. So I think if we were racing for real, I think it would have been a different story. Casey drilled the guy to the tree, and then we just had a little electrical thing that we were fighting during the meeting that could have been fixed. If we were racing.
Yeah, we didn't bother to mess around with it because it wasn't actually a real race meeting. So had it been a real final, we probably would have gone ahead and
tried
and foolproofed it. But because we didn't think we needed to, we didn't do it, and it ended up costing us that race.
Yeah, which it didn't matter anyway because we just got 20 points for it. So.
Yep.
But Casey would have been on 200 points in the Australian Championship at this point if she had have, or even not, she would have been on 185, 190 points, even if she got the actual points she deserved at that meeting. So that's a little bit disappointing that we couldn't do that, but it'd just be good to see some interstate people coming over and putting the fight up to the West Australians and challenging themselves in a one of the most, have to say, competitive Group 2 states in the country.
100%, and we stand on that. So come prove us otherwise.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing is that the doorslammer championship is 5 cars fighting it out for the top spot, which is very impressive. Obviously, the likes of Daniel Gregorini are in there, John Zapier, of course. But some newcomers, Ronnie Palumbo and Russell Taylor, are also right up there at the top. Russell actually leading the championship, so that's pretty impressive for Russell in his debut season in doorslammer. We know he's a really good steerer. We know that he's capable, and he's got the backing behind him to be able to do it. And he bought a really killer car in that Steve Ham doorslammer, and he's got those really killer tuners that were tuning it all along, helping him out, Hammy and Stu Rowland. So you just about can't step a foot wrong having those two guys in your corner, and Russell's doing the job and finishing it off with the driving. So, and
the same thing, like the competitiveness of doorslammer these days is a lot better than it was maybe a few years ago. And again, it's the WA guys that have stepped up. You know, last year's champion Kelvin Lyle, and Dan and Lisa Gregorini and all those guys. It's a tough fight, and you don't know who's going to win any meet of doorslammer these days. So it's a good watch, and I encourage everyone to come down and have a watch.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it would be a little bit different if PK, he had a bit of an injury, hurt his leg, broke his leg, I think, in a motorbike accident. So he was right there. He was coming to Perth, and he was running the series. So hopefully PK can get better soon and get back out there and get into the fight in top doorslammer again, because it's great to see interstate people travelling and following the series and making the commitment to come out to Perth and race with us. So we really appreciate it when those guys come out and make the effort.
100%.
Moving on to the last little bit of the podcast for this short episode. For our first one, it's going to be the fan questions section. First up is the favourite car Dad has owned. Obviously, Dad couldn't be on the podcast today. We're going to try to get him on at some point if he lets us. We'll probably have to handcuff him and drag him in here to make him get on here. But the favourite car that he's owned, we asked him today, and he reckons that it's his green Altered, the last Altered that he had before he retired. He said that's his favourite car because it was the safest. It had 4-wheel carbon brakes. It had all the good gear, had the big diff, had the big wheels, had all of the fruit gear, and it was super comfortable. So that's his favourite car.
And the big block Whipple.
Yeah, for sure. And that car was actually that was actually bought off the Fergusons, who originally the car was built for struggle for his name. Can't think of his name. Used to run for B&L Steel back in the day, but that car was built for a big guy, and that's why Dad liked it, because it fit a big guy, and that was super comfortable for him and made him feel as safe as possible in the car. What's your favourite car of Dad's?
Damn. I'm going to have to say Brutal. I think the story behind that and how it come about, how it was built, I think it's just legendary. So, and of course, you've seen the photos on our throwbacks of me and Connor sitting in the car towing back, and me in the passenger seat hanging out the window. We grew up around that car, like it's when we first sort of started getting into drags, and for me that's the one. It was built in our shed in Rockingham. Dad built it by himself from the ground up, and it was a very clean car. Like if you look back at pictures today, you'd think, wow, that was built that long ago in his shed by himself, and it looks that good. So that's my favourite car.
I think that's sort of almost a McClure Motorsport trademark at this point, is building quality cars and that out of our shed and doing it all by ourselves, and that's a thing that's probably our trademark at this point. My favourite car, probably the silver and blue funny car, probably Dad's most successful drag car out of all of them, and definitely the one where I started to really get. I mean, I've always been super keen, but that's probably the car that when I was getting right around that age, that 14, 15, 13 years old, and I was starting to get hands-on with the car and starting to learn about tuning and stuff like that, and that's what he won his WA championships in Comp Eliminator in, and what he won his first Australian championship in. First Westernationals win was with that car, and that's a pretty special car. So that for me is my favourite one.
And a lot of good memories travelling.
Yeah, for sure. That's when we were chasing the Australian Championship, so we travelled to a lot of different tracks and stuff. So the last person to win the Comp Eliminator Championship, apart from Craig Geddes, was Dad. So since Dad stopped running Comp Eliminator, chasing the title, Craig Geddes has won every year. So it'd be good to see. Maybe we could try push an Australian Championship or something at some point and put it back up to Craig. Next up we have we found a new project? Obviously Dad put a post up on Facebook a couple of weeks ago looking for a little project car, because we're always looking for something to tinker around with in the off season. And I know it's not the off season yet, but I think the Western Nationals almost marks a point in the season where we almost just think to ourselves, what are we going to do in the off season? What are we going to? We can't possibly leave our cars alone. We have to change something. So Dad just ended up looking for something, just as a going concern sort of thing. And we did find a few little leads. We have a few little things to chase up, but nothing as yet have we actually nailed down and put a final offer in on. So still looking, still fucking having a little dabble around. So we'll find something eventually. But yeah, favorite racing moment. Anyway, favorite racing moment.
All right, I'll start off here. I think for me, I don't want to sound cliche, but a lot of the memories I have is just being with the people down there. It's like one big family. You look forward to going there and catching up with your mates and stuff like that. And it's always a good atmosphere. It's our happy place. We don't go to Hawaii for holidays. We don't go gallivanting around at the beach and going to pubs and stuff. We go to the track. That's our getaway. And so for me, just going down there is my best memory. Every time I'm down there, I'm having fun. But if I had to pin it down to one thing, it would probably be the Torrey going that 37, because we've struggled a fair bit with it since we've bought it out with different sort of setups, rear end setups, and that run sort of just solidified that we were going the right direction. And the meetings following, we backed it up incrementally. We knew it wasn't a fluke, and we know what's on the horizon. So I think that was a bit of a turning point. And yeah, it was a real highlight. We didn't really expect it, but it shows that it's got the potential, and it gives us a lot to look forward to. So it's a highlight.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, like Bailey said, it's just every time we go to the track is like our favourite moment. Like we love that place, and I just love drag racing in general. So any holiday we go on is usually drag racing, or we're going to the Winters, or we're going to Adelaide, or we're going here or there, and we are always having our favourite moments at the drag strip. So yeah, definitely probably the one that means the most is that 37. That's not something that I expected, and it's not something that we were trying to do. We've been struggling with the car so much leading up to that, and the tune-up that I put in there, I was happy with a 52. To be honest, that's what the tune-up in it was for. We had put a brand new converter in the car, and for that meeting, and we didn't know what it was going to do under the power of a 52 tune-up that we had for it. So we had that car back down the run before. It went a 60-something. So I went, all right, we'll just step it up a little bit, go a 52. I'll be stoked if it runs a 52. I would have been happy if it ran a 55. And then when it got out there at 100 foot and it started lifting, the wheels just kept coming up, and I went, holy crap, this thing's on a move. And it come over to the centre line a little bit, and I seen Fergie there, and the car I just whipped it back a little bit into the middle of the track, and then when it started pulling, it started actually pulling on Fergie, and I thought, holy crap, this thing is hauling ass right now. And
Yeah.
that's when I knew I was so happy. Like
He cried.
I cried. I knew it was quick. I just knew it's way faster than I'd ever been in a drag car before. And 224 mile an hour was I knew it had to be over 220 if I was pulling on Fergie, because I knew those boys go pretty quick. So yeah, I was ecstatic with that, and that's got to be the highlight of my my racing career. Bailey, I think you talked to Casey about her.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to get an answer from her, but she's actually on the plane coming back from Taylor Swift in Sydney. So I think she's mentioned before that was it a Golden States?
It would have been, Golden States.
In modified, a Golden State, it's one of those meets where you don't get any free passes. There's no solos. You race hard all the way to the finish line, and you pull off the win. It's a very good feeling. I've done it before. And Casey has mentioned before that was probably one of her favourite moments.
Yep.
But like us, every weekend at the track is a favourite moment. So, but if you had to pin it down to one, it would probably be that.
Yep, for sure. There's nothing better than hard racing all the way to the final, and that's probably the thing of that you dream of is racing every race, and every race you just win and you get all the way to the final and you can do it in the final. That's like probably the tip top of anything every drag racer wants to do. And that
makes you feel untouchable, pretty much. But
for sure makes you feel untouchable. But Brad, our crew guy, asked what was our first memory of drag racing, of cars. Sorry, I think he said.
Damn. I have pretty good memories of that red ute that I mentioned. But specifically racing, it would be going to Norm Butler's when we were getting our junior drags, or Connor's junior drags to build, and he was getting all sized up for it, and we were checking on progress. That was pretty cool. That was sort of when it started. I started getting pretty into it because it all looked so cool, and getting fitted up for your own fucking special car. Like, it was pretty cool. So if I had to pin it down to a racing memory, like first memory, that'd be it. But I have a lot sort of just around the house when Dad was building that ute, and photo shoots at the track with Luke Newhoff back in the day, stuff like that.
Sure. My first memory probably with cars, and probably I would have had to have been about 3.5-ish out the back of Kwinana Industrial area with Dad.
Oh, shit.
Sitting on his lap and him recording Uncle Tim and Hartsy and Gus and all those boys, all the Dad's mates doing burnouts and stuff out the back of there. I still remember sitting on his lap and watching that. So that's a pretty, I suppose that's my first memory of cars and my first thing
Rocco Nats
got me going. So Brad will be pretty impressed with that. But yeah, we'll go have a little look on the Facebook, see if we got any more
I know you know of one question you wanted to ask me.
questions on there. There was one question in particular. Why does Bailey have the nickname Fritty?
It's not a car related story in any way, but I'm willing to tell the world. Only a few people call me Fritty, and it's sort of my closest friends. Because one time simply I put away a pack of not Fritty rolls, profiterole rolls. And back in the day,
Quite the effort.
Yeah, no, they were good. They were sweaty too, but anyway. Back in the day when we used to race juniors and I used to get out first round or whatever, and my mates were still in, I used to get a rag and wrap it around my head and pretend to be 50 Cent, just to make the boys laugh and make them chill out for their finals or whatever. So when the Fritty roll incident come around, they wanted to give me a name for it. They wanted to mark that memory. And so I used to be Fitty back in the day, so profiterole, Fritty roll, 50 Cent.
And that's how the legend was born.
That's it. Not proud of it, but it happened.
So Jack Williamson asked if Dad would get into a top fuel car for one lap. I don't think so. He would just say he's too old for it.
Too fat.
You would have to crane him out of it at the other end. Jared McLean asked, is Connor ever going to race a bike again? And I actually had the memory pop up yesterday. 3 years ago today, I rode Uncle Tim's Hayabusa at the drags, and that was awesome. I love riding that bike, and it's something I definitely want to do. I don't have a bike. If anyone wants me to ride their bike, feel free to ask me and invite me to, because I'll take up the offer immediately. Went a 10.06, I think, on that bike. Pretty basic street bike, not lengthened or anything, just geared and lowered. So that was a bit of fun on the Bussa. Blaze Hansen asked, is Jeff Johnson happy with the amount of sets of plugs that go into the Tirana's engine? And I can tell you that he's definitely not. Definitely not happy with the amount of plugs that go into that motor. But you know what? It's like $100. $100 for 8 freaking spark plugs, sparkulators.
We had 3 boxes rock up today.
3 boxes rocked up to that. It's all that's in the budget. And that's got to last us the rest of the season. So Dad's going to check the tune up in Casey's car, and I think I'm going to grab the second handies that come out of that to put back into the Tirana because I can't handle this anymore. What have we got? One of the last ones here we got is Frankie Salvo. He said, turbos are great, but I know your dad loves carbies more. And
not really a question, but...
And this is more of a statement than a question, and he even put a lol at the end there. But what I find fascinating is that it shows you the intelligence of carby guys. There's one laugh react underneath the comment, and it's actually Frankie Salvo himself. So that just shows you the level of
he's a funny man. He's a funny man.
Even he thinks he's pretty funny.
Carby guys.
That's about it. That's all we've got for the rest of the episode. Thanks for tuning in if you did tune in, and I can't wait to see you guys down at the Westernationals. We'll be Wednesday when we drop this one, so we'll be off testing Casey's car tomorrow. And that is all for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. And we'll catch you next time. Peace.